Hello, all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and along with my fellow Husky Harry Huggable Homos and friends, we review films either current or classic on this show. This week, we are just fresh off the plane, back in the house, whatever you want to call it, off the heels of South by Southwest Film in Austin, Texas. Of course, Will, you live there, a little easier for you to get
Oh
there.
yeah.
But we did some traveling. We got to hang out with Will. We're going to talk all about it here in just a sec. We got a lot of movies to put on your radar and talk through with you. But before we do, let me introduce you to my phenomenal co-hosts. Jim Pugliafico is with us here on the show. Hey, babe, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good. I'm glad to be back on the show. It's been a great week. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I'm glad to be here and ready to go.
Same. And William Melendez is with us as well. We wouldn't have it any other way. Welcome, Will. How the hell are you?
Hey, doing pretty good. Pretty excited to talk about these movies. This is one of those episodes where we get to talk about not just one movie, although we do get to, front load a little bit, but we get to rattle off a few of our faves. And that's always a blast for me because a lot of these films we're going to be talking about are either things that are still looking for distribution or might have distribution and are coming to a streaming platform or a multiplex near you soon. So this will be a really fun one for us.
Yeah, super agree. I love South by season. And just a heads up, everyone, we're probably going to have several episodes of South by Southwest coverage coming at you. We usually pair that with stuff that you can see as well. We're going to be kicking things off with a discussion of Another Simple Favor, which is the Anna Kendrick, Blake Lively film that's a sequel to A Simple Favor from 2018. I think that's coming out in April, so you'll be able to access it soon. And then some of the other films that we talk about coming out of South by, like Will mentioned, you may get to see at some point. It might be 3 months. It might be 6 months. I think there's some films from South by last year that are only recently getting distribution. So it's been like over a year. But these are films that are so exceptional. We want to make sure you don't miss them when they do become available. So strap into your seats, get ready, because we got a whole lot of goodness coming your way in terms of some of the films we're going to be talking about. But why don't we kick things off just by talking a little bit about the South by Southwest Film 2025 experience. I mentioned Jim and I traveled to Austin, Texas. We got to hang out with Will for a week, as well as his delightful other half, Scott, and their amazing doggos. Will, I gotta say, from a personal standpoint, I miss waking up and seeing y'all every morning.
I know. We actually had a Friday night after you all flew back home. In fact, I don't know if you had even landed yet, but Scott and I were watching TV and we'd made a little joke just like, oh, well, we probably after this episode call it because Brad and Jim should be back from the movies pretty soon and we'll want to figure out dinner. And so we had a little role play there, imagining you guys were on the way home instead of on the way to your home.
Yeah. Well, there's talk of us permanently moving to Austin, potentially, question mark. So who knows? Maybe weekly dinner and podcasting and movie outings are going to become a thing. Will, that would be a lot of fun.
Lots of Alamo screenings for y'all. Lots of live streams in person for us. We'll have to maybe figure out a different setup. Maybe we'll figure that out though.
Would be a new era of MBP in person. Jim, how are you doing now that you've transitioned back to Tucson, but you're reflecting back on your experience at South by? Was it a good time? How did it go for you?
I mean, it was a great time. As I don't know if it's been mentioned, but we've been at South by like for the last 12 years, with the exception of the COVID year, I think. We've gone there and had a great time every single time, and this trip was no different. So many movies, so many great movies, great experiences, seeing old friends, networking with other movie folks, whether critics or fans or whatever. That's the, sometimes that's the part that I like the most. I mean, the movies are great. Don't get me wrong, but I like seeing familiar faces and talking to them, and just being in that movie world for a week. It's great. I mean, except for the early mornings and the little bit of stress of standing in lines and wondering if you're going to get into a certain screening or not. But all of that's part of the experience. And this year, I think that experience was wonderful, just like all the others.
Yeah, I agree. It's always so much fun to see films at the festival, especially when the filmmakers and the talent are in attendance with you at the premieres of their films. It's pretty crazy. I'm sure we'll talk about some of that. A highlight for me was seeing a movie at Paramount and having to race out to the restroom at a quiet part of the movie, and I ran into the director in the bathroom, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, your movie is playing right now, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you for making it." It's
And
a
don't
special
cross
experience.
streams.
Or do.
Yeah.
The funny part is he was in a stall, and I recognized him by his shoes because I've been looking at his shoes when he was on
Oh my
stage
God.
in front of us. I just see the pant legs and the shoes, and I'm like, "Oh my God, is that the director?" And then the door opens, and I'm like, "Oh, hi."
Brad's head goes underneath the stall, just like, by the way,
Hi.
I just wanted you to know that I'm really
Oh my
enjoying your
God.
film.
I'm not weird or anything. I'm not weird or anything, but hi.
I would never do that. I would tap my foot under the stall first. Anyway,
Oh,
Yeah, that's as one does.
as any international traveler should know.
Right. Will, how about you? How was your festival experience this year?
It was pretty good. This was one where, we talked about some of my health issues that I've had. And so I tried to take it a little easier this year. A lot of times I would do the, pillar to post at these festivals. And just didn't feel like that was probably kind of like the best for me, kind of from a kind of maintaining health perspective. So instead, I cherry picked a few screenings here and there. Still ended up seeing a bunch of things, like a lot of things, through the course of the festival. And so because of that, I had a more metered, but still no less engaging and entertaining time between our times in line down at the Paramount or our air quotes easy days at the Alamo on South Lamar, where we would watch a few of the kind of the, I don't say not bigger movies, but just the ones that weren't in like the headline category, which is what generally is what falls under the Paramount Theater.
Milkshake,
but I enjoyed all of that.
Milkshake days, Will.
Milkshake days.
Ooh,
Milkshake.
I like
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
There you go. So it was really good, and just like every year with this festival, it's not always the films that you're excited to see that end up blowing you away. More often than not, it's the stuff that maybe wasn't on your radar before. South by Southwest has always been a terrific documentary festival. We've talked about that a lot in Lines too, and I was impressed with like just about every single documentary I saw. The headliners that I saw, the headliners that I didn't end up seeing for one reason or another, and then got into something else and was all equally blown away. It was all good. It was all good. And it makes for such a choose your own adventure, personalized experience that no two festivals ever feel the same, but they're all good.
Yeah, that's such a great point to call out, Will, that like sometimes you go in with a plan. Like you look at the schedule before you get there and you're like, I have to see this on this day. And it's all like Minority Report with all the windows. And you're moving it around and planning it. And then you get there and your plan goes all to hell in the best ways sometimes. And I think for me, the two movies that I'm going to talk about tonight, aside from Another Simple Favor, are two movies that didn't really even sound, I don't know, that interesting to me going in, but they ended up blowing me away because we ended up just randomly seeing them instead of other things. And the surprises, I think, are what delight the most. Although, that said, there were some big films that we knew we had to see while we were there. And the cat just turned off my overhead light. Thanks, Kira. While I fix that, what do y'all think about sort of the breadth of films that was at the festival this year? Do you feel like it was a pretty good smattering of like different genres and topics, or I don't know? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about the festival often has like headliners, which are the big ones that have had marketing, for their release, for their subsequent release. And certainly were those this year. There were several of those. The Accountant 2 was there. Death of a Unicorn, which will probably be talked about at some point, was there. And the film we're going to talk about tonight, Another Simple Favor, is another one that's big. But I find that like the the variety of movies that you can see there, besides these headliners, you have some independent films that are really exciting, like you said, the ones that you don't expect anything out of, and then they're just like, wow, that was great. Um, we're lucky enough to be attending as press because of this podcast, and we get access to a press screening library where they put certain films, not all of the films, available to the heck available to press online, including a bunch of short films. And at this festival this year, we had some downtime between films, or at night, or in the mornings, and that provided us a great opportunity to see some of these short films that were out there. And I saw some really great ones. My movie, I saw almost as many short films as I did feature length films. So, yeah, between comedies, which I thought were really strong this year, regular narratives, documentaries, short films, both documentary and narrative, um, just an incredible variety of movies.
Well, it's part of the programming block that they have that really helps them diversify what types of films they've got. So with the headliners block, those 8-ish films tend to be, the bigger, sexier studio films. And that can be a few different genres, but it's the type of things that you more than likely will have either heard of or will hear about, as we get closer to trailer season. Then you have the Midnighter section, which is just horror films or thrillers or kind of films in that regards. Because it's a film / music / interactive media set of festivals running in conjunction. They have the 24 beats per minute. So they have a large number of music related documentaries and narratives and stories like that, if that's your thing. And then also you end up with a few different films that were in the festival favorites categories, which are things that played at previous festivals like at Sundance and already had some sort of
TIFF.
or TIFF or something that has some sort of buzz kind of coming off of it. So I think that's what's exciting about this lineup is that, it's sometimes fun to hyper focus at, there are specific festivals that are just LGBTQ films or horror films, and those are a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing that stuff. But I also kind of love the buffet line that is South by Southwest. You can kind of go through and have a little bit of something different for your plate.
Yeah, that's so true. And we really got to hand it to Claudette Godfrey. She's a senior film programmer at South by. They have an amazing team of programmers that vet all of these films and pick which ones are going to play at the festival. And I know Claudette has been doing this the last couple of years. Before that, it was Janet Pearson. I don't think there's been a slate of films yet where it's felt like it's just like bunch of clunkers or something. I mean, there's always been great stuff to see. So really appreciate all the work they put into selecting these films. And of course, want to give a big shout out to all the volunteers who helped make South by Southwest Film and South by Southwest in general such a huge success. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hours of volunteer time to make all of this happen, from the people who stand at the doors and take your cue cards as you come in, or announce on the PAs when it's time to come get your card, and the whole mob just descends. It's a lot, and we really, really appreciate all the work that goes into this, as well as the fact that we've been lucky enough to be able to attend as press. I say lucky because it's great to be chosen as a press outlet for South by. We're probably going to have 3 or 4 episodes, maybe more. I think last year we had 6 episodes that ended up having South by content. We want to cover as much of it as possible. So you're going to get the first of that today, this episode. It's all happening right now. Jim, Will, we've kind of talked in general about our South by experience. Are you ready to talk about our first fucking South by movie?
Yeah, these movies aren't going to review themselves.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, then let's do ourselves another simple favor in setting this one up. All right. So we're going to be chatting about another simple favor, but we're going to diverge from our normal process. Normally, we talk about a film spoiler free for 10 or 15 minutes, then we give you a heads up. We're going to do spoilers and jump in. Because this movie isn't out yet for another few weeks, we ain't doing spoilers. We want to protect your experience. You can't see this film yet unless you're seeing it on the festival circuit. And Will just updated me. It's actually May 1st. So it's in May.
And on streaming.
Thank you for that. Yeah, which will be awesome. For some reason, I thought I saw April, but thank you for that bit of info. So you've got like 5 weeks, I think, if I look at my hairy-chested, naked cowboy calendar. Yeah, it's like 5 weeks. So in any event, we're going to talk about the movie just very generally. We're not going to give any plot details away. In fact, the director begged all of us to save you from spoiling yourself. And we promised in the audience we would. We're going to uphold that promise. But we can still share some thoughts and impressions about what's coming your way without spoiling your experience. So we're going to do that right now. Here we go, our discussion of Another Simple Favor. All right, Jim, you were actually the one who turned me on to A Simple Favor all the way back in 2018. I'd never heard of the movie. And you were like, oh my God, we got to see this thing. It ended up being one of my favorite films of that year. I remember you enjoyed it a lot too. And when this one popped up as headlining South by Southwest, I know we're all like, oh, this has got to be the one that we kick this off with. If you don't mind, you seem like the fitting one, Jim, to introduce this film. Tell us a little bit about what it is for those who maybe don't know, and then talk to us a little bit about your initial impressions. Are you glad you went to the premiere of this? What was that like? What did you think of the movie? I just asked you 12 questions. I hope you can keep track of them all, but if not,
Let's do one at a time, Brad. I can't digest 12 questions at once. You might get an answer to 1 or 2 questions. That's about it.
Do your best.
Of course. I always do my best. So yeah. Another Simple Favor is a movie that, as Brad mentioned, it is a sequel to a movie called A Simple Failure that came out in 2018. You know, guys, sometimes I can't wrap my head around how long it's been between certain movies. Like, I can't believe that it's been, 7 years? Between the first movie and this one. It does not feel that long. Maybe half that amount of time. Anyway,
you know why that is, Jim?
Why? Because I'm old.
No, it's because we skipped 2020 to 2024. We lost 4 years. So it's like our brains don't.
Although there were some good films that came out then. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But
agreed.
Yeah. So this one follows Stephanie Smothers and Emily Nelson as they head to the beautiful island of Capri, Italy, for Emily's extravagant wedding to a rich Italian businessman. And now we're going to have to stop because I have to sneeze. Wonderful. Great timing.
No worries. Perfect. You can edit that out in post.
Yeah, or just leave it in. Whatever. Yeah, here we go. So that movie, this movie stars, again, we have Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, who were at this premiere, which was awesome. It also stars Allison Janney, and God, what's his name? Henry Golding was there as well. He's in the film again. He was in the first movie, and a few other folks. Andrew Rannells is in this one. Shows up in this one. So this is again, it's a sequel to that original story, and I'm not going to go too much into the original plot, but let's just say it's kind of a twisted comedy mystery thriller, and this one is the same with the same characters. I was along for the ride on this one. I loved kind of the tone of this film. These two women who are kind of frenemies, I guess you could call them. And they play off of each other very well. I love both actors. I think they do a wonderful job. And yeah, this one is set in Capri, Italy, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of, if anybody's watched White Lotus, it kind of reminded me of the second season of White Lotus, just in the setting, not necessarily the style or anything, but in a like a posh seaside resort, touristy resort, and so that was luscious to watch. And had a lot of fun. And of course, I think, as we've talked about before with South by Southwest, this movie premiered the night we saw it. It was the first night of the festival at the Paramount. We stood in line to see this one for a couple of hours at least, I think, if I remember right.
Indeed.
But we still got in, no problem. I mean, the Paramount Theater is one of these old movie theaters. This thing holds over 1,000 people. It's awesome to see comedies in there because all of the audience gets into it. Especially like with the talent there, the cast and the director, and it's a charged atmosphere. And the movie was great. I really enjoyed it as a sequel to the original. So this is one to watch out for. It's going to be, as we said, it's going to be coming out and released on Amazon Prime. So Prime Video. If you have Prime Video, it's going to be streaming there on May 1st. Apparently it's not getting a theatrical release. So it looks like it's just going to be on Prime. So those of you with Prime, you'll be lucky to see it. If not, find somebody who has it and go watch it.
Amazon Prime. All right. Well, Jim, thank you so much for kind of setting this one up for us and talking a little bit about your thoughts. Will, how about for you? Was this an exciting one to catch, especially since we did have to stand in line for a while? Or was this kind of like, how did you feel?
I really enjoyed it. And this comes from someone who I enjoyed the first one, but I feel like the first one was still trying to figure out what its tone was and what its vibe was. Like, not that it was a bad movie at all. I think it did some things very well, but I think that it was just a film that, maybe had a bit of an identity issue that I feel like got hammered out in the creation of the Another Simple Favor script. Feels more focused in terms of, and more confident in terms of being exactly what it is. And what it is a drippingly delicious dark comedy murder mystery in an exotic locale. And so the type of person I think would really enjoy this, or even maybe the best viewing experience, I think, for this, since it is coming out on Prime on May 1st, this is one where I think there is a real world where you could invite a few people over, have like a cheese board and some wine, maybe ask people to dress in their like kind of most like extravagant vacation wear, and have sort of like, make a meal out of this experience, right? I think this is going to be more fun with friends. I think this is going to be more fun kind of like playing into the extravagance of it. The chemistry between Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick, I know that there's some like off-screen kind of issues there between them, but whatever, that doesn't play out on screen between the two of them. The two of them have a really good chemistry and a really good vibe between each other. Blake Lively has the most amazing outfits in this movie. I mean, she did in the last one too, but I think that is one of the selling points of this. And I feel like the supporting cast has a lot more to do here, which fits sort of the scope of the story and kind of the direction things are going here. Not to say that this is a full ensemble. The two leads do chew the majority of the screen time, as they're going to, but the rest of the supporting cast does, like, they get their licks in as well. definitely enjoyed Allison Janney's role here. Alex Newell, who's joined the cast, is fantastic. Doesn't have a ton to do in the grand scheme of things, but the scenes where Alex is on screen kills it. And then you get some returning actors like Bashir Salhuddin and Andrew Rannells. They're back as well. Yeah, this is a very decadent movie. And it's the type of movie that, again, I think if you watch the first one during COVID, which is what happened with a lot of people, it's the reason why this sequel took so long. We learned in the Q&A that, the movie did okay theatrically, but it really picked up its second wind sort of during the pandemic and kind of like the subsequent years once it found a new audience through streaming, which is why it makes sense that Amazon is doing this as a direct to streaming film. That's where it's had its success. That's where its audience is. So yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised with this one. It made for a really fun headliner, made it for a really fun opening film. And I think it's one that a lot of people are going to enjoy, whether you enjoyed the first one, haven't seen the first one, or not. I think this one's worth having on your radar.
All right. Well, thank you so much for weighing in as well. I was pretty excited, I'd say, to see this one going into the festival. We knew it was going to be the headliner that first night for us. And it was, we knew we weren't going to get express passes to it because it is so popular and there's so many people at the festival. So we're like, we're going to have to stand in line for this one. But you know what? I'm so fucking glad we did, because this movie was a delight. Not just because it's a really fun, sexy, sultry, snarky film, and it is all of those things, and they make it great. But seeing this film with Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively in the audience, 4 rows away, reacting to all of the laughs that are happening, reacting to people's reactions to the crazy, amazing fashion on display, and knowing that the director is somewhere in that auditorium for the first time, hearing a mass broad audience, react to his film. It's really special to be part of that. So y'all talked about how great this movie is, and definitely it is. But I also want to call out to how awesome it is to have films like this brought to a festival like South by Southwest and get to experience them in that environment. That said, I will absolutely be watching this again on streaming. I can't remember the last time I laughed that hard in a movie. What did we see over the summer or something, Jim, that you thought was super fucking dumb, but I was laughing every 5 seconds?
I don't remember.
Know. Whatever it was since that movie.
You know how you are with comedies. I don't know.
I know, right? Which is why you'd think it would be more memorable. I would recall which one it was. But this movie, I think, really relies on dry snark, to the extreme. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's my comedy wheelhouse. That quick fire, rapid, dry snark, mile a minute, they're just, insulting each other and doubling down. And I know there's drama between Blake and Anna, but it is so fantastic just to see the dynamic between those two characters, especially considering what happened in the first film. We don't have to get into spoilers for that, but that film leaves those characters in a certain place, and this film picks up having to explain how all of the things that follow happen. It's crazy, it's ridiculous, but it's so much fucking fun. And I would say, aside from The West Wing, one of Allison Janney's best roles. She was so magnificent in this. I loved her so much. Unfortunately, she was not able to be at the screening of the film. I was so bummed to hear that, but hopefully that means she was off making other incredible films too. So she's great. Will coming in clutch. Yes, Deadpool and Wolverine. That's what it was.
I had a feeling as I was thinking through, what did we watch over the summer? Oh, yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Brad liked that one, and I'm sure it was not 100% Jim's. Yeah,
that was it. But this film is absolutely worth a watch. But do yourself a favor. do yourself a simple favor, if you will, and see the first film. It too is really good, and it sets up a lot of what's to come.
Yeah, it is really good. I don't know that you necessarily have to see the first film to see this one and enjoy it. They do kind of weave in the major points of the first one into this one a little bit, uh, well enough. I think that it works. I will say that I think if I, in terms of like the two leads, Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively, Blake is lucky here in that she gets a character that's way more flamboyant and devious and just delicious in the way she carries herself versus the as Emily Nelson versus the Stephanie Smothers character, who kind of plays it pretty straight. I mean, she's a super mom, with a vlog, and that's her character. But the Blake Lively character kind of gets to do. Seems like it would be a more fun role to play, and she definitely looks like she's having fun with it.
And it was nice to see Anna Kendrick get a chance to do this, since the first one, while she was still playing that supermom character, it was a character who was so kind of obsessed and enamored with the Blake Lively character that she was kind of putting on a lot of affectations that were not true to the character. They were true to the character within the plot of that, but not true to who she really is. That's kind of the point of the first one. And so here we get to see what this character looks like a little bit more unfiltered.
Yeah, I think I would probably go back and watch the first one before I watch this one again, maybe before May 1st, just to kind of watch them, not necessarily like back to back same day, but close to each other, and kind of refresh myself on the first one and then compare and contrast, because, it's been 7 years in my memory. I remember the big points and the high points of the first one, but I don't remember all the nuance of it. So it would be good to be reminded of that.
You don't remember the brother of it all? The brother fucker of it all?
Oh, the brother fucker. Yeah. I vaguely remember the brother fucker.
Oh, goodness. Well, I want to leave us with a let's see. Can I share this without exposing things I shouldn't? Yes, there's a way to do that. I want to show y'all a picture that Jim
Cowboy
took.
Dick calendar.
No, I'm not going to share my Cowboy Dick calendar. Although it is worth sharing. It is delectable. It is really good.
Plenty to share there.
You aren't kidding. No, I want to share this awesome snap that Jim got while we were there. And let me just select this. Here is Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively at South by Southwest at the premiere of the film. Jim was right down there looking at those glamorous dresses. And it was great to hear them talk about their experiences shooting this film.
And if you want to see this photo, if you're listening to the audio version, check out our Facebook page. The photo's posted there, or of course, come and check us out on the YouTube, the restream of this. Watch to the about the 35-minute mark here in that video, and you'll see that same photo.
You mean not everybody watches the show on YouTube or Facebook with full-on video? Really?
Hey, Brad, if so, then we wouldn't have one of your favorite phrases. Digital tape delay.
Digital tape delay. Yeah.
I've been using
What is digital tape? I don't know. Can I buy some digital tape, please? Do you have any digital tape?
Oh my God. We need to go to a store and ask for that.
And ask for it.
In any event, another simple favor coming your way May 1st. Definitely has the Movie Bears podcast seal of approval for whatever that means to you. Check it out. Definitely worth your time. Well, fellas, I think we got some other South by movies that we want to talk about as well. Probably, not as extensively as this one, but we got some things we want to call out. Are you ready to switch gears and talk about some of our favorite films of South by Southwest Film 2025?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine, let's fucking go.
Let's
All
fucking
right.
go!
All right. So, Will, do us a favor if you don't mind, and just set this up for us. What are we doing with this segment of the show? And what is your first part of that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so what we're doing here is we've each brought to the table two films that tripped our triggers in some way, shape, or form. Something that moved us, something that thrilled us, something that engaged us, something that made us think. Um, there are so many films at this festival, literally hundreds of films at this festival. We can't review them all. We didn't get a chance to see them all. You can't. It's just that's not. There's not enough time. But what we did was we've cherry picked a few of our personal favorites to talk about here today. And I'll start by talking about, I think the film that I would probably place as my favorite overall, although, that particular spot fluctuates a little bit kind of as I'm thinking about this or thinking about that. So it's, uh, this doesn't put this film as, substantially better than the other films on the list. It's just the one that I think resonated the best with me and that did what it was setting out to do the strongest. And that's a documentary called Remaining Native. Remaining Native is a documentary that is still going through its festival circuit. It does not have a distribution yet. Although if you are interested in knowing more about it, they do have a website, remainingNativeDocumentary.com, where in addition to some upcoming festivals, including Salem Film Festival and River Run, they're also, especially in indigenous communities, taking applications for community screenings. And this is a film. It's a coming of age story. It tells a story of the 17-year-old kid named Koo Stevens. He's Native American out of Utah. I believe Utah. He's with the Paiute. Nevada. Yeah, he's out of Nevada. He's with the Paiute tribe. And he wants to get into college as a runner. At the same time that he's training, he's also remembering his great-grandfather who decades prior was one of the victims of the Indian boarding schools and went on a 50-mile run to try to escape. So what this film does is it really connects who Koo is today, who he wants to be, and his ties to the past and his tribe, and some pretty motivational and inspirational ways. I was absolutely blown away by this documentary. There is a patience and a silence to it, especially during some of the more contemplative moments, as it's just Koo running and talking about what he's feeling in terms of his connection with his great-grandfather during those runs. But then there's also some pretty amazing moments of community that spawn out of it as well. It's just a fantastic documentary. Remaining Native, I would really strongly recommend anyone to, if you are especially in or near an indigenous community, I would strongly recommend trying to get a community screening in your area. These types of stories need to be told, especially because of some of the atrocities that happened in those Indian boarding schools and things that we're still learning about and still uncovering to this day. And I think we shouldn't shy away from that. So yeah, fantastic story about honestly one of the most motivated, inspirational young people that I've seen on screen in a long time.
Yeah, well, I got to see this one with you. And I was blown away by it as well. And I think what really struck for me was, yes, I was somewhat familiar with the horrible stories of abuse and, in some cases, murder that happened at these Indian boarding schools throughout the U.S. and Canada during that time. But I think this film kind of personalized it a lot more than anything else I've seen through this descendant of one of the victims of one of the schools. So, and not only that, like you said, he's so the character is just so quietly charismatic, and his intelligence and poise comes through. I mean, for a 17 or 18-year-old kid, who's probably now 20 maybe, comes through in the film and in the Q&A after, which we got to stay for and meet the subject of this film. So yeah, Will, this was a really great, one of the highlight documentaries of South by for me.
And Jim, I do believe you also got a picture from this film's screening.
Right, I did.
In fact, I might have said photo here and ready to display. Oh, you son of a bitch! It's not appearing.
Oh no!
Yeah, I don't know what's up. That's weird. Hold on. Bear with me. Technical difficulties. Okay, I think I got it. Here we go. It's solved. Okay, here we go. Jim, feel free to talk to us about this awesome photo you snapped.
Yeah, so if I can hold on a second, if I can find my thing. Yeah, that's Koo Stevens on the right, on the left, and the director will help me out with the name. I don't think I have it in front of me.
I have it right here. This is Paige Bethman.
That's right, Paige Bethman. Another like promising young director. I want to see, I'd love to see more stuff from her, whether it's documentary or whatever she does. She did not come across certainly like a first-time filmmaker to me. If you watch this film, it's very well put together, very well shot. But yeah, good stuff. My only knock is that he selected the University of Oregon to go to.
No, Jim, no.
I knew that was gonna be Jim's sticking point.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm very happy that the whole movie you're rooting for this person to realize his dream, and which is his initial dream at least, is to be an athlete for the University of Oregon. That seems to be his singular goal, and he does achieve that. And so, I've never been so happy for somebody who's been a duck before, but he's a duck.
And a hell of a duck he is.
And a hell of a duck. Yeah.
That's right. What do you call the subject of a documentary about someone who went to Oregon?
Is that a documentary?
A documentary.
Quack 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 quack.
A documentary. Why didn't we say that during the Q&A? Well, what's the matter with us?
I know, right?
Thank you for that was documentary.
If only you'd had me there with you. I really regret that I didn't get to see this one. I was also working on site. It's one of those few times a year, at least until we possibly move to Austin, that I get to hang out with all my favorite people at my company on site. I normally just see them in a rectangle. So it's great to see them, actually having bodies and existing in 3D. It's kind of cool, but it did mean splitting my time.
Interesting news about this one that I just, because I was just glancing at their Facebook page, they actually won the audience award for the documentary feature competition.
Nice.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't able to. I didn't see the audience awards yet, but
did they just announce that one?
Yeah. So it was that one, and then Narrative Spotlight is Baltimoreans. I'm only seeing that because of a screenshot from a press release on the Remaining Native Facebook page right now.
Yeah, so I was going to say I haven't seen the full slate of awards come out. I did see an email with those two earlier, but I can't wait to see the other winners too.
Yeah.
Well, Will, sounds like a pretty solid choice. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Jim, how about you? What is your choice for your first favorite to share?
My first favorite to share is another comedy, another dark comedy, actually. Which, granted, comedies usually aren't my favorites, but this year, the comedy selections for South by were really strong, and this is one I really didn't know a lot about. I knew who was in it. I knew one of the people who was in it, and I saw a trailer for Brad. I think we saw a trailer for this maybe once or twice in maybe in theaters. I think I'm not sure, but anyway, it's a movie called Friendship, and it's an A24 dark comedy that stars Tim Robinson, who I heretofore did not know a thing about, and Paul Rudd and Kate Mara. Those are the big names that are in this. Apparently, Tim Robinson is a big deal when it comes to comedy. He's got a show or stars in a show called "I Think You Should Leave Now." I think that's what the show is called.
I think you should leave. Yeah.
I never watched a minute of it going into this movie. So I'm watching this movie, and man, I laughed my ass off. Again, this was at the Paramount, and I laughed more in this movie than any other movie at South by. It just, for some reason, it hit my like. It's cringe comedy, but the comedy comes from the characters and the I don't want to say quirky because that's an overused word, but just the offbeat nature of the characters. You have like a really straight-laced but sometimes clueless character in the Tim Robinson character, and the Paul Rudd is like a charismatic. He's like a TV weatherman, kind of poser character, and the two together create a hilarious concoction. The movie's name is Friendship. I'm not sure. It didn't premiere at South by this year. This one actually premiered at TIFF in last September, actually. So I'm looking for this one to get released soon because I think it's the deal. If comedy is your thing, cringe comedy and well acted cringe comedy works. This one's fantastic. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah, so this is it's coming out on May 9th. So it's coming out soon. And anyone that doesn't know Tim Robinson's humor might be in for a bit of a surprise with this one because Tim Robinson's his whole style of humor is really about what happens when someone sort of overstays a social cue, and then heightens. I mean, that's the core of his comedy on I Think You Should Leave. That's when he was doing some work on Saturday Night Live. That's what he focused on there, and that's definitely the core of this film here. Sort of going beyond those like social norms to the point of just everyone being uncomfortable.
Hilarity.
If you like I Think You Should Leave, you're really gonna like Friendship because this feels like an extended episode, an extended skit instead of like a 5-minute sketch. You know, it goes out for the full like hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the runtime is. And Jim, I was glad I got to share, like afterwards, send you some sketches to check out.
Yeah, I did check those out, and they are hilarious. But they're a little different than this movie too, because as I was watching Friendship, I didn't know anything about it. Like I said, I'm watching Tim Robinson. I'm like, this guy is hilarious. Good on him for writing this movie. And then to find out at the end, he didn't write any of it. He was just acting in it, and it was written by somebody else. So it's almost like I don't know how that works. I don't know how. It seemed like I would have bet $100 that he wrote the movie and the lines. The way he was able to deliver and fit into this character, it worked great. But yeah, he's hilarious. It's like he's socially clueless, but not to the point where he's non-functional, but he's just somebody who's like over earnest and socially clueless. And Paul Rudd is, he's super talented too when it comes to comedy. So the two of them, I think, like click really well.
Yeah, 100%. Now, this one is one I think people should check out. And like I said, like this leans so heavily into Robinson's style of humor that it's a natural fit. It's just a natural absorption of kind of what he does best. You're either going to like or not like his style of humor, but if you do, then this movie is going to be right up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sounds like another pretty solid pick. that I unfortunately did not see because I was
Sorry.
working. I promise I did see movies, though. I definitely saw Another Simple Favor, and I saw a film I'll talk about here in a second. But
We'll go see this when it comes out, babe, again, but I just hope, you might hate it, but I hope you don't.
we'll see. I looked up the actor, and I don't think I've ever seen him in anything before,
No.
and I don't think I want to spoil my exposure by watching stuff that I might not find funny,
Yeah.
which could influence me going into the movie.
Yeah.
So I'll watch the movie first and then maybe explore from there. But
Sounds good.
thanks for putting this one on the radar. This one got a buzz screening or something, right? Didn't they end up doing another screening
They
of
did.
this one?
Yeah, they did later
Yeah,
in the week. Yep.
yep. So good they played it again. All
Yeah.
right. Well, my first pick for one of my South by Film 2025 favorites is a film called Reeling. And I think I ended up picking this one because we didn't get fast passes for something else. And so we're like, quick,
Yes.
hit on something else. What can you get? And I got this one. And this movie, I'll read the synopsis, the little blurb that was on the South by website, and then tell you a little about it. So this is a movie called Reeling. And the synopsis is, after a life-altering accident, Ryan struggles to fit in with old friends and family at a birthday luau on his family's Hawaiian homestead. As the pig slowly roasts in an emu pit and the partygoers cut loose, the celebration boils over when Ryan uncovers the missing memory of when his life took a tragic turn. Reading through this description, a couple things stood out to me. A, birthday luau. I think that's what I'm doing next year. Luau party, return 45, milestone birthday. And then Hawaiian homestead. Jim and I are about to go to Hawaii coming up in June to celebrate his upcoming retirement and birthday. And so I was like, ooh, something Hawaii to put us in the mood. So we went to see this, and first things first, when we sat down, there were goodie bags on our tables. We saw this at Alamo Lamar, and in those goodie bags was some chocolate macadamia nuts, which are fucking awesome, but also Lays. We got laid at South by Southwest 2025, which is kind of amazing. We did. But anyway, so this film was directed by Yana Aliata, and I didn't realize this, Jim. This was executive produced by Werner Herzog.
I saw that in the
saw
credits, and
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I had no idea. And then I went back later and I was researching the film, and I'm like, fucking Werner Herzog, really? But the main actor in this film is Ryan Westewald. And if I've pronounced this incorrectly, Ryan, and you happen to be listening, my deepest apologies. This is an incredible story of family and trauma and repressed grief, and it's ugly in the best ways and messy and fucked up and just like, I don't know, it takes you on such an emotional journey. And the Ryan character in this film, played by Ryan, I think is relatable in a lot of ways. Whether you've been, through some kind of accident that makes you lose memory, or you just kind of have a messed up family carrying around a lot of trauma, I think this one really, really can speak to you. It was wonderful seeing Hawaii in this film. They did a lot of filming up on the North Shore and some of the different areas of Hawaii. Jim, I think we've got to find some of the different places they filmed this at.
We'll go right to the house that it was at, and
we will.
Like, hey,
we totally will.
Let's have a luau.
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. I wish you were coming with us. We could do a little live on location, but
next luau.
There you go. But I got to tell you, we were talking earlier about how somehow, you go in with a plan of what you want to see, and you don't get into that screening, and then you've got to pivot, and you discover probably like one of the best things you're going to see at the festival. That was Reeling for me. And the best part of it for me was after the film played, I realized that Ryan was sitting right in front of us. And on our way out, I got to have a conversation with him for a little bit and just thank him for his incredible performance. I didn't get to speak to the director. Unfortunately, I wanted to let her know how much it touched me as well. But fuck, like being able to like see this incredible movie that just fucking rips you open in all the best ways. And then the person who was fucking in this film and did that is right in front of you, and you get to shake their hand and say thank you. That is a special motherfucking experience. And I feel so lucky to have had that. So Reeling, I don't know when this is coming out. If it's coming out with Werner Herzog behind it, you got to imagine it must be. Maybe there's some information out there, but when it's available, absolutely worth a watch.
Yeah, babe, it's this is a quietly powerful film about families, about guilt. I particularly resonated not just with the main character Ryan, but with the brother too. Like obviously, there was some deep-seated guilt that drove that character, and it's not doesn't seem like a great person in the movie. He's not portrayed as a great person, but you can kind of feel for him in a way because you know that guilt is driving him to be that way and tearing him up inside. And I think the film portrayed that really wonderfully. But to your mention about Ryan West, what is it? Please help me. Ryan Westewald.
I'm not sure the pronunciation. Yeah.
He stayed for a lot of the week to watch films. I saw him in line with us for several films.
Oh yeah,
which was awesome. And I love to see that at a festival like this. But yeah, Reeling was really really good.
Yeah, it's still looking for distribution, which is a challenge. But I really like this one as well. There's a stillness to several of the scenes here as the characters are sort of swirling through their sort of normal interactions because it's just a family getting together over a weekend, but with this thing that's hanging over them and kind of hanging in the air between them. There's a film from maybe 10 years prior called Krisha that this reminds me a lot of, that I think this would be a good like double feature, because they both kind of have that same sort of like character sort of figuring themselves out in the middle of like a family gathering as things sort of swirl about them, kind of vibe. So yeah, this was fantastic. Really enjoyed this one.
Awesome. Well, before we launch into our next slate of films, I just wanted to call this out. We gave some love to Remaining Native on our Facebook page, and they just responded. And they said, Movie Bears Podcast, thanks for the love. And we've got some running and heart emojis. So awesome to hear back from them. And I absolutely cannot wait to see this. I'm so gutted I didn't get to see it at the festival, but really hope we can help get some additional eyeballs on what sounds like an amazing fucking film.
Yeah, not to re-review the thing that I just reviewed, but just anytime there's an indigenous film that is this strongly, that it's something that not only am I able to enjoy as a film, but also being Chickasaw, it sort of helps me sort of connect with my own roots as well. So I'm going to be able to carry this little piece of this little movie with me for some time, and I love that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. I've still got y'all in my vocabulary after being in Texas for a week.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and move into our second slate of favorite films, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. We have a whole lot more South by coverage coming your way over the next several weeks. So if you're like, oh no, I want to hear about movies, don't worry. That'll happen. It's coming your way. And we're going to do that right now by putting another slate in front of you. So, Will, what was I'm not going to say your second choice because we didn't like rank these or anything, but what's the next film you selected to share?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good distinction to make because there are some other films that I'm not talking about today that, if I was kind of ranking things in different places that might, depending on my mood and kind of depending on the day, would rank higher than the one I'm about to mention. But the one I'm about to mention, I had a lot of fun with. And after talking about a film that moved me, I wanted to talk about one that I just had a fucking fun time with, and that's the hilariously named Clown in a Cornfield. So this is a horror film that is it's got distribution through RLJE Films. It's going to be out on Shudder on May 9th. So if you like horror films at all, you should sub to Shudder. And if you are, then check it out then. The idea behind this film is it's a horror comedy by Eli Craig. He's the same guy that gave us Trucker and Dale versus Evil, which is an all-time favorite of mine. And it tells the story of this this father and this daughter. They move to a sort of like a very rural area, and she meets a new group of friends there who slowly find out that there is a murderous clown that is coming after them, to Friendo the Clown, who I got some pictures of walking around South by as well. This movie has a lot of like it's one of those like witty kind of sharp almost like Scream or something like that type of horror films.
Satirical almost, yeah.
Not necessarily satirical, because it's not satirizing horror. But what it is it's playing kind of fast and loose with sort of the style. It's not dripping. Like, this is not a. There's some horror movies that make you feel like kind of gross and dirty. The ones where it's just like, oh, like there's an inevitability to the despair, or how will they ever get out of this situation? All is lost. This isn't one of those movies. This is a fun one as the shit kind of gets kind of fun. It's slick. It's funny. The kills are over the top and wild. But it does have some pretty fun turns to it. There's a moment where the film kind of changes from what it was into what it's turning into, and I will leave it only at that. But when that happens, it was really fun to see the audience's reaction. This is based off of a popular horror novel, so half of the audience had already read that book and was ready for that twist. Half of them, including myself, did not, and so got to sort of be taken along for the ride. It was fun to see a few people that, the names that you might recognize in this would be people like Kevin Durand and Will Sasso are both in this.
Oh yeah, Will Sasso, I know.
Yeah. And Kevin Durand, you would have seen in, what was the movie that came out? It was not, what was it, like Abigail, like the one with the little girl was dancing inside of the mansion, but she's a vampire.
Yeah, that was Abigail.
Yeah. So in that one, there was like one tall, like he was in that, and a few other things. But he was like the big kind of dumb buff guy that was in that. And he plays kind of one of the main characters. Yeah. And he was there at the Paramount too, like literally like a foot taller than everybody else, so it's super easy to see him because he's just a giant of a man. Anyways, this is a fun movie. Like, it's the type of thing that, again, like, invite some friends over, make popcorn, and just have a fun time watching Clown in a Cornfield. Again, this movie is not going to blow you away from like a deep emotional resonance perspective, but you're going to have a fun time with it.
Yeah, well, I didn't get to see that one with you. But I heard the buzz about it after it played. A lot of people were talking about it in the lines and so forth. And I'm glad Will got to see it because it sounds like it's right up your alley. You know what I mean? I know you're a big Fantastic Fest person, and this sounds like a film that could have easily, if it wasn't at South by, played at Fantastic Fest. But yeah, I'm glad you got to see it and you actually liked it.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Definitely looking forward to checking this one out as well. Big fan of Tucker and Dale, and again, couldn't see everything I wanted to see, but definitely jazzed to catch this one when I can. Jim, all right. I know we're going to talk about like 1,000 more movies over the next few weeks,
sure.
But what's the next one you want to highlight right now in this moment?
I can't believe it, but I'm talking about 3 comedies in the show.
Nice.
So This is another comedy that I saw there that I didn't know anything about before I went to see it. Um, the name of the film is called Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. And I'm interested because I'm like, okay, I know the rock band Nirvana. Maybe this is, about some guys who want to go see Nirvana, or, it's certainly not a documentary about the band Nirvana. And then someone told me, oh, no, 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 no. This movie has nothing to do at all with the rock band Nirvana. As a matter of fact, the Nirvana in the title of this movie is spelled differently. It's got two N's instead of one, probably for legal reasons, obviously. But and the other thing is, this movie is, well, I'll get into it. The movie premise is when they're planning to book a show at the Rivoli, which is a performance space or a theater, goes horribly wrong. Matt and Jay accidentally travel back to the year 2008. So if you had told me this was a time travel movie before I went to see it, I might not have seen it, because you know me in time travel movies, I don't really dig them that much. But the way this film takes the elements of Back to the Future and turns them on their head and plays with them is so hilarious and funny. These guys are great. Matt Johnson and Jay Carroll are the two guys. They are the writers. Matt is the director of this film. Also, apparently, and I didn't know this, but they actually had a TV show in Canada called Nirvana, the band, the show. This is Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. Anyway, the show was back in 2017. So, like, was that 8 years ago? Something like that. And so now they're doing a time travel movie back to that time. They already have footage from their show that they can use in this movie as, like, okay, they're traveling back in time. I'm not really spoiling anything. This movie is hilarious. It's a lot of fun. It's a ride from the time the plot gets going to the end. It's crazy. It's set in and around Toronto, Canada. I love the hell out of this movie. And again, we talked about this early on. You go to see these movies you know nothing about. Maybe you hear a little buzz about it, and you go to see it, and you learn a lot. You enjoy the fuck out of a movie that you might not have gone to see in the first place. But I would say I don't know what kind of a release this movie is gonna get. When the director Matt came out after the movie, they actually finished the film a week before they had to submit it to the festival. So, like, it was slapped together, but I think that worked out perfectly for the show. It's a little this movie. It might be a little rough around the edges, but I think it's better for it. Anyway, look for it when it comes out. Maybe on the podcast, if I find out that this thing's getting released, I'll announce it. But it's Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. And maybe people are, maybe listeners in Canada might be more familiar with this than I was, because, maybe they watched the show, because it was like a streaming show up in Canada at the time. But yeah, another incredibly wonderful surprise.
Comedy, Jim. Not expecting that from your picks, but I think that's pretty rad.
No, don't worry. Next time I'll go super, dark documentary, like serious.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, yeah, fair.
No doubt. Well, thanks for sharing that pick, babe. And hey, y'all. Ben Woolley is in the house. He says howdy with a little cute cowboy emoticon. Handsome Bears, how are y'all? Good to see you, Ben.
Another y'all.
That's right. Right?
Y'all.
Glad to have you here, Ben. All right. Well, I guess it falls to me to drop the last favorite film for this episode. So this is a film that really took me by surprise. It is a film that is entirely from the perspective of a dog, and it's a horror movie, / thriller. And all of those things, like, on paper, I'm just kind of like, it could be interesting. I don't know. We'll see. It's a late night film. Let's do it. This is a film called Good Boy. And I will read the synopsis. A loyal dog moves to a rural family home with his owner Todd, only to discover supernatural forces lurking in the shadows. As dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must fight to protect the one he loves most. And this was directed by Ben Leonberg and stars Larry Fessenden, Ariel Friedman, and Indy the dog. And let me just put up the picture of Indy
Oh,
that we got at the festival. Indy is fucking adorable and amazing in all the best ways. Um,
yeah.
very
Wanted to
handsome,
take him
very good
home.
boy. I know, right? Uh, how cool, though, being able to pet the dog that's in the movie that you just watched. Kind of an amazing experience. Really neat that they brought Indy to the screening. I really appreciated, too, that they were like, hey, when we bring Indy out, please don't everybody like clap
Yell
uproariously.
and clap and
You know,
scare the dog.
Indy is a dog. Dogs get scared by lots of noise. Like, and everybody was super chill. It was great. But anyway, the movie itself, I'd never seen a horror movie from the perspective of like a
Mm.
dog before. So that was really neat to see. And I'll tell you what, since we got home, I haven't been able to look at our cats the same way. And I'll tell you why. In the film, I don't think this is a spoiler. The dog can see the entities. It's literally in the description, but the human can't. So like we see the dog like see in the shadow dark things, and then we cut to the human who's looking at the dog just randomly staring at the wall. And
Mm.
now whenever our cats are
Creepy.
randomly staring at the walls, I'm just like, holy fuck, are
What are
there
they
ghosts
seeing?
here?
Yeah.
Let's get the fuck out of Dodge. So kudos to this movie for making me afraid of what our cats might be seeing. This was really chilling in a lot of different ways. There's also some elements of like grief and trauma in this that I didn't expect to be touched by, but I totally was. The cinematography in this film is exceptional. They do some really cool things. Um, I don't want to give anything away, so I'm gonna be really careful what I say, but they do really good things with like perspective and perspective shifting. And some of that's from the mechanism of like having this from the POV of the dog. And when I say from the POV of the dog, I'm not talking about like you don't see the dog, like the camera is moving as if it's the dog. Like we see the dog reacting to things and making dog noises and but yeah, this one really took me by surprise. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I was just doing some quick searching to see if I could find any distribution news. I didn't see anything, so I don't know. Yeah, Will's shaking his head too. So
Yeah.
maybe there's nothing been announced yet, but I really hope that this gets like distribution on Shutter or some other way that it gets out there for y'all because it was really fucking good. I loved it a lot, and I also kind of want a dog now, and I'm not a dog person. Some of that might be Adelaide and Huck, though. Will I'm just
Yeah.
saying they're amazing
Well-
doggos, and we love spending a week with them. But Indy, definitely very good boy.
Yeah, this was there were sort of two films that were kind of at the top of my hit list coming into the festival. One of which I didn't get a chance to really see and talk about yet. We're going to be talking about it in a little bit more detail a little later on, so I'll hold it. But the other one was Good Boy. I'm a dog lover. I work in the veterinary industry, and horror films are my jam, right? So like you couldn't write up a film on paper that is like more like my jazz, right? And so I loved watching this one, and also I'm bummed that it doesn't have that distribution yet. This one would kill on Shutter. I know that the audience that would watch it there would just have a wonderful time with it. And yeah, Brad, Jim, if you ever find yourself back in this area for any prolonged period of time, we may have to enlist y'all to take Adelaide for some walks here and there if you ever want to get a little bit of extra dog time.
I'd be 100% down. I let them out to use the restroom the other night and hung out with them for like half an hour out back at your house. and it was transcendent. It was delightful. Also, Huck has to pee a lot. It was like 5 or 6 times. I was like, for such a small dog, how do you hold so much in your bladder? It's crazy.
He was putting on a show. That's what
Oh,
he was
tiny
doing. He was
prostate.
he's marking spots. Like, hey, just this over here is mine, but over here, this here's mine too. Yeah,
that
boy
would
dogs are funny.
explain why he was staring at me every time he looked at his leg.
It's just like nonstop eye contact. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this movie was great, especially the director's there answering questions after, and I just got a huge appreciation for how a movie like this would get made. This is not a stage trained dog. I mean, this is a regular. He's a regular pet dog. Yes, he's got some obedience training and stuff, but like he's not a trick dog. Like and it isn't that they had 3 or 4 dogs that they could put into different scenes and do that. This one dog, the director's pet, he decides to make a movie that features the dog, and they get all these amazing shots, reaction shots. I don't know how you make a dog like, you have a camera crew of like, a bunch of people around. Can you guys still see me?
Yeah.
Yes. Now
Okay.
that Cora's tail is out of the way.
I had a cat step on a key, so I don't know what happened. But imagine like a room with a dog and a person, an actor, and then like 6 or 8 crew standing around with equipment and lighting, and asking the dog to curl up on the bed and go to sleep. Like, how does they make that happen? I have no idea how they do that. They could wait hours. The dog's going to be looking around. It's going to be trying to figure out who's in here. Like,
So
it's crazy.
I can't remember if you had to maybe go pee during the Q&A for this at one point, but they did talk about the fact it took them something like 402 days of filming to get all of this footage of Indy. And they had exactly like you're saying, like hours and hours. They'd wait for him to get, curled up and get the shots they needed. And that dog put in some work.
Yes,
and Indy, so... Not that you can understand what I'm saying and you'd be watching a podcast, but Indy, you're amazing, and I appreciate you.
Andy, the dog screw goes to you. One little side note I just noticed, kind of going back to Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, it was actually the Audience Award winner in the Midnighter category.
Oh, great.
So, yeah,
great.
So that's another award winner that we've talked about here today.
Fantastic. But yeah, with The Good Boy, I forgot what I was going to say about it, but one of the best movies of the year that won an Oscar was Flow, a movie from the perspective of a cat, and now we got a movie from the perspective of a dog at South by. So we're doing pretty good on animal pet movies this year.
I would agree, and this is really funny. So the director of Good Boy also did a movie from 2015 called Bears Discover Fire, and I really want to track this down and watch it. Ooh. Here's the description. Bears Discover Fire is the strange tale of a lonely man, his aging mother, his curious nephew, and a family of bears that have discovered how to use fire.
Now, Brad, there's 2 ways this movie could go, but in my head, I'm going the same direction as you.
Yes, and that's a lovely direction to go. It is an animal bear on the poster, but given the great work that the director did with Indy in this film, like now I'm super curious about this other one too. So that's the cool thing I think about a lot of these films is like you see, a film that they bring to a festival, and then you want to check out like other things in their repertoire.
Yes.
So really looking forward to going back and exploring for sure. All right, y'all. Well, there you go again, y'all. We talked about 7 different movies by my count, right? Another Simple Favor, than 2 different movies each. Yeah,
that's right.
7.
7 movies.
And we've only scratched the surface of like the 100 movies I think we collectively saw at South by Southwest Film 2025. Just to kind of close out this first part of our coverage, just want to say a huge thank you again to everybody behind South by Southwest Film, programmers, volunteers, theater staff, all the folks who converged to make this the incredible festival that it is. We had an amazing time. We're really happy to highlight a lot of the films that we saw. If you heard your film talked about on our show and you want to sit down with us and maybe tell us a little bit about your craft in the film and help continue to get the word out, hit us up. Let us know. Email Brad at moviebearspodcast.com. We'll chat. We'll set that up. That could be fun to sit down with you. Otherwise, we are looking forward to talking about a whole bunch of more movies in the weeks to come. Next week, we're going to be talking Snow White, which is not a South by movie, but then we'll bring you part 2 of our South by Southwest coverage. The week after that, we're doing Death of a Unicorn and Ash, which both played at South by Southwest. And then later in April, we'll be talking about Drop. That was another big premiere we got to see. Yes. Can't wait to get into that one and share some additional films from South by. So a lot more coverage coming your way. But Jim, Will, if people want to chat with us between now and our next episode next week, let's let them know how they can get in touch. Jim, what are your socials that you wish to share?
Find me out on Letterboxd, where you'll find all of the South by Southwest films rated that I saw. Unfortunately, I haven't put a list together yet. I think what's holding me back on the list is like when you make lists on Letterboxd, you have these little tiles of like the movie posters, and probably a third of the movies that I like don't have anything yet. They're like a gray box. So that would look kind of weird. But yes, all the films that I saw at South by I've rated. Find me on Letterboxd under my handle at JJP Out West. You can also find me on Facebook under my real name, Jim Pugliafico.
All right. Thanks so much. Will, how about you, friend?
The 2 major places that you can find me are going to be on Facebook. Look for William Lindis there. And on Letterboxd at The Movie Bear. I'm also on Blue Sky and Instagram at The Movie Bear as well. But Facebook and Letterboxd are going to be the primary ways to get in touch with me either personally or about movies.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And folks, if you care to find me, look to the western sky. I'll hold up my little Funko Elphaba. Sorry. We're seeing Wicked next weekend, and I'm so unbelievably excited about that. On stage, right. I mean, I've seen the movie like 12 times now, and I've seen the stage play like 4 times, but I'm still wickedly excited. I tried to pun that.
Wickedly.
It's gonna be wicked awesome.
Excited. It's going to be wicked awesome. I can't wait. Anyway, if you want to chat with me, feel free to find me on Facebook under Bradley Harris. That should separate me from the Brad Harris who has the Confederate flag. I mean, if you know what I look like, I guess. You
that guy.
Anyway, but you know what? Maybe you've only ever listened to the audio version of the show, as Will mentioned, and you have no idea what we look like. How the fuck would you know? Well, now you do. Look for Bradley Harris. I'm also on Blue Sky and Letterboxd, where I rate every movie that I've seen the last 3 years, thanks to the redoubtable William Lindis turning me on to doing that. Just look for me at iBradPro. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. This was episode 526. 530 is coming up. That's not really a particular milestone, but still kind of blows my mind a little bit. Thanks for tuning in and being part of our Movie Bear family. Love and appreciate y'all. There I go again. We'll see you next week. I'm gonna try and just
and if you give us the correct number of y'alls in this episode, you will win a sticker.
Y'all.
Oh my God, Jim, you need to figure out what the waveform for the word y'all is, and then search it in Audacity as you're editing, and let us know the official number. I'm just kidding. That would be way too much work, but it would be really fun.
Yeah.
If a listener wants to listen and count them and then let us know,
count the y'alls.
That might be even more fun. Count the y'alls.
Count the y'alls.
Count the y'alls.
Yeah. Give us the official y'all tally and we'll hook you up with something really cool. We promise. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.